Assalamu alaikum grade 6. I hope you're doing well and learning a lot from the eLessons. Today we'll do novel Harry Potter and Philosopher's Stone chapter 12 and 13. Alright, so as you know, during Quidditch classes, Professor McGonagall finds out that Harry can be an excellent seeker just like his father. Harry has his first Quidditch match. He faces many problems but catches the golden snitch and makes his house win. Hagrid mentions Nicholas Flamel accidentally, and the three friends are now into finding who that person is. Now we will start our chapter 12, The Mirror of Eris. It's almost the winter holidays, end of term. Hogwarts is all snowy and cold, especially the dungeons, and the students are already gone for the little break. During Potions class, Malfoy makes fun of Harry and the people who can't go home for the holidays, since making fun of Harry during the Quidditch game hasn't worked out so well for him. He even calls the new seeker a tree frog. Harry is staying at Hogwarts over the holidays. The Weasleys are staying too because their parents are traveling to Romania to see their son Charlie. Alright students, now we'll start with chapter 12, The Mirror of Eris. It's almost the winter holiday, end of the term. Hogwarts is all snowy and cold, especially the dungeons, and the students are all ready for a little break. During Potions class, Malfoy makes fun of Harry and the people who can't go home for the holidays, since making fun of Harry during the Quidditch game hasn't worked out so well for him. He even calls Gryffindor's new seeker a tree frog. Harry is staying at Hogwarts over the holidays. The Weasleys are staying too because their parents are traveling to Romania to see their son Charlie. Harry thinks it's going to be way better than going to the Dursleys. After Potions, Harry and Ron run into Hagrid, who is bringing a huge Christmas tree inside Hogwarts. They decorate Hogwarts with 12 trees. Malfoy comes up behind them and makes fun of Ron's family for being poor. Just when Ron attacks Malfoy, Professor Snape appears and sides with the Slytherin students. Even though Hagrid tries to stand up for Ron and Harry talk about getting back to Malfoy. Hagrid distracts them by talking to them and taking them to Great Hall to look at the Christmas decoration. The hall looks awesome. Hermione is there and reminds them that they have to go to the library since they only have one day left before vacation. When Hagrid asks why they are so interested in study, they explain that they are trying to do research on Nicholas Flamel. Hagrid won't tell them anything else, and even though they have done a lot of research, they haven't dug anything up yet. They have checked many of the major books and come up with nothing. Harry checks the restricted section, which has books about dark magic, but gets shushed out by the librarian. Ron and Hermione follow and they confirm that no news has been found yet. Hermione asks them to keep researching while she is gone over the holidays. When classes are over, Ron and Harry are stoked to have alone time to relax, and Ron tells Harry about wizard chess, where the pieces can talk and help the player. Ron has got it from his grandfather. Christmas Day, Harry is surprised and pleased to see that he got presents just like Ron. He got a flute from Hagrid, 50 pence from the Dursleys, and a sweater from Mrs. Weasley. A chocolate from Hermione. The coolest gift, though, is what Ron tells him is an invisibility cloak. The cloak comes with an unsigned note that says the cloak belonged to Harry's dad. Ron is very jealous and Harry is blown away. Fred, George and Percy come in with Weasley's sweaters and go downstairs for the great feast. The dinner is the best that Harry ever had. With magic wizard crackers and all kinds of desserts, Harry gets even more presents from the crackers, including his own wizard chess stuff. He has a great rest of the day with the Weasley snowball fight and more hanging out and eating. When he goes to bed at night, he refocuses on the puzzle of the invisibility cloak. He realizes the cloak will help him break a lot of rules. It's really amazing to have something that belonged to his dad, so he wants to try it out right away. He wants to use it by himself. He slips out of the Gryffindor dormitory and heads back to the restricted section of the library. He is sort of weird and he thinks that he looks very strange in that invisibility cloak. In the library, the books look creepy and unhelpful. He picks one of the book. When he picks it up and opens it, it starts screaming. Even though he quickly closes it, the book tries to scream and he runs away. The screaming continues. Filch comes in looking for the intruder as Harry runs out. Harry finds himself in a corridor he doesn't recognize next to some armor. He hears the voices of Snape and Filch and he gets worried that he'll get caught. He goes into a room that he sees left open and the other men don't seem to realize it when he moves away. They leave and Harry looks around the room. It has desks, chairs, and a tremendous golden mirror with strange words carved on the top. Harry looks at the mirror, planning to geek out some more about being invisible, but freaks when he sees his reflection and the reflection of a bunch of other people. He's not sure if they are other invisible folks in the room or what. When he looks in the mirror again, he sees a beautiful lady and a man, both of whom look a lot like Harry. He calls them Mom and Dad and realizes that other people in the picture or in the mirror must be his relations. He looks and looks in the mirror and is both really happy and really sad. He has hard time leaving the people in the mirror. The next morning, Harry gets Ron because he wants to show him his family. He thinks Ron will be able to see his family too. Ron's not excited about that and tries to get Harry to eat, but all Harry can think about is seeing his family again. That night, Harry is worried they won't be able to get back to the room with the mirror, but they find it at last. When they go over there, Harry sees his parents right away, but Ron can't. When Ron looks in the mirror by himself, he sees something very different. Himself as head boy Quidditch captain and winner of the House Quidditch Cups. They can't decide how the mirror works and are in the midst of an argument when they are interrupted by a noise of Filch's cat. They decide to return to their dormitory. The next day, even though Ron tries to distract him, all Harry can think about is the mirror, even though Ron thinks Harry shouldn't go back. It's all he wants to do. That night, Harry ditches Ron and goes back to the mirror. He just sits and looks at his family. Suddenly, he realizes that Dumbledore is there. Dumbledore explains to him how the mirror works. It shows the viewer his or her most inner desire. He explains Harry saw his family because he lost them, while Ron sees himself with all the attention because he doesn't get it. Dumbledore says the mirror is really dangerous. He's going to take it away from Hogwarts and asks Harry not to follow it. As they're leaving, Harry asks Professor Dumbledore about what he sees in the mirror. Dumbledore says, "Nice warm socks." Later, Harry realizes that this might not have been his real answer. Okay, so that's the end of our chapter 12. Now question answers from chapter 12. Who stays at Hogwarts for Christmas? What does Draco say will be next Gryffindor seeker? Where was Ron's family going? How many Christmas trees were put in the Great Hall? What are Ron, Harry and Hermione searching for in library? For whom did Ron get the wizard chess? How does wizard chess differ from muggle chess? Who sent 50 pence to Harry? What did Hagrid give Harry for Christmas? To whom does the invisibility cloak belong originally? Where does Harry go using invisibility cloak? What does Harry see when he looks in the mirror of Eris for the first time? What does the mirror of Eris do? Who caught Harry in front of the mirror? Chapter 13. Nicholas Flamel. After the whole mirror episode, Harry gives the invisibility cloak a rest. Instead, he has a lot of nightmares about his parents dying and seeing the weird green light. Hermione comes back for classes and is bummed that they haven't made more progress on Flamel. The three never got anything out of the library on him, and they're pretty busy when classes start again. What really crowds Harry's schedule is Quidditch. They have got lots of extra practice and preparing for the big game, and they have to be on their toes because Professor Snape will be the referee. When Harry hears about Professor Snape being the referee, he wants to tell Ron and Hermione right away. They both think he should save himself and not play in the game. Harry has to, though, because he is their team's only seeker. They are interrupted when Neville falls into the room. His legs are stuck together with a curse. Hermione uncurses him and Neville says Malfoy did it. He doesn't want any more trouble, so he's not going to report it. Harry and Hermione try to comfort him, and Harry gives him a chocolate frog. Neville gives Harry the card inside the frog, which is a picture of Dumbledore. Then Harry realizes that where he heard about Flamel before. Flamel is mentioned on the card. He partnered with Dumbledore in alchemy studies. This gives Hermione a brainwave and she dashes off to grab a huge book. She tells that the Flamel is the only person who can make the Sorcerer's Stone. Ron and Harry are impressed, but not so. So Hermione makes them read the relevant passage. The stone can transform metal into gold, and it can also make an elixir of immortality. Flamel is the only guy around who has access to one. Hermione thinks the three-headed monster dog is guarding the stone, and Harry says it makes sense, everyone would want it. The three are still talking about the stone the next day in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. Harry decides he is going to play in the match despite Professor Snape. He is really nervous though, and the rest of his team is worried about Professor Snape's bias as a referee. Harry is also worried about Snape can read his mind and stalk him again. When the game starts, Harry, Ron and Hermione are all worried just for Harry's safety, let alone winning. Ron and Hermione sits with Neville to watch the game while Harry gets ready. When Harry hears Dumbledore is watching the game too, he relaxes a little. Malfoy and his cohorts come sit with Hermione and Ron to put them off. Hermione and Ron are worried about Snape's refereeing. He has already given the other team, Hufflepuff, an unjust penalty. Malfoy insults Harry, Ron and Neville and the Gryffindor team. When Neville stands up to him, Ron has his back. Then Hermione interrupts because Harry seems to be in danger. His broom is headed straight for the ground at a high speed. Malfoy says that Harry must be looking for money for Ron, and Ron jumps him. Neville helps Hermione, Hermione is so focused on Harry she doesn't notice. Suddenly, Harry whooshes by Snape and grabs the snitch, winning the game. All the Gryffindors are super excited. Dumbledore congratulates Harry and Snape seems angry. After the game, a contented Harry is putting his broom away when he sees a mysterious person heading into the forest. He thinks it's Professor Snape and decides to follow on him broomstick. He goes deeper and deeper until he catches up. He sees Professor Snape and Professor Quirrell in furious discussion. Snape mentions a stone and asks Quirrell if he has figured out how to get to it. They argue. Snape accuses Quirrell of disloyalty and leaves, and Quirrell seems shocked. Back at Hogwarts, Hermione and Ron congratulate Harry again and tell how Ron and Neville fought. They want him to come to party with Gryffindor, but he takes them aside to explain what he saw in the forest. They all think that once Quirrell caves into the Snape, the stone will disappear. Alright students, that's the end of chapter 13. Now question answers from chapter 13. Who is Nicholas Flamel? What magical powers do Philosopher's Stone has? How old is Nicholas Flamel? Who is refereeing the Quidditch match? What is guarding the Philosopher's Stone? Whom did Professor Snape meet in the woods? After seeing Professor Snape and Quirrell, what was Harry's conclusion? Alright, now your home task. Your home task is to answer the questions given at the end of each chapter. So if you listen to the recording carefully, you would be able to answer the questions correctly. Alright, students, that's the end of today's lesson. I'm sure your curiosities have been risen that what will happen next, inshallah. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care of yourselves and your families. Stay home, stay safe, and stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.